Okay, a real quick overview of what is lead generation, which also illustrates what actual value we bring.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, if you think of a company, right? Let's use the analogy of a. What I'm going to do. Let's use the analogy of a recycling factory.
Okay.
Before I go into a company, I'm going to go use a recycling factory. Alright, so that basically recycles scrap metal. So inside that factory, you've got a bunch of machines, right? And you've got an engineer. Right? So now that engineer basically takes scrap metal off the conveyor belt, puts scrap metal in the machine, and then out comes the blocks of metal.
Yep.
Right, and there's different types of metals, right? Like you could have steel, metal, steel, copper, tin, all kinds of metals come out at the end, right? So there's a bunch of different machines that he is responsible for, right? So now, and it's going to be interactive, right? So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions.
Sure.
Now, when you're looking at this, right, where do you get scrap metal?
From different sources, usually from rubbish or usually from used material already.
Okay, absolutely. All right, so let's do that, right? So you've got a few different sources. You've got, for example, the tip, which is kind of all mixed in.
Yeah.
You've got recycle points.
Okay.
Where it's kind of already sorted.
Yep.
Right? You've got, say, for example, building sites, right? Which is going to be probably a lot better quality than, say, the tip, right? But not necessarily as filtered as recycled.
Yes.
So let's say you've got these three types, okay? Now, these are the sources of rubbish coming in. Well, because it's junk, right?
Exactly.
Until this point, it's all junk.
Yeah.
It's all junk. You don't actually know what is required. So let's say, well, let me ask you, right? Would you get the engineer to go to the tip with his little 4x4 and pick up junk?
No, definitely, yeah.
Wouldn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So how do you do it?
I would actually hire or get a group of people who can actually get the scrap metal, so I can focus more on what I need to do, which is actually
precisely right.
Yeah.
So you get the tip truck, right? You get a tip truck.
Yep.
You call up a tip truck and you go, look, we want a bunch of scrap. Now, what happens is, and this tip truck comes in, and what do? They just dump it in the company's massive junk pile, right? So this is junk. Okay. So obviously, you're not going to get the engineer to go out to the tip and drive the truck. It makes no sense, right?
Yep.
You can easily call a guy and go, hey, give me a tip truck. Give me a load, right? So the load comes in, goes on the junk. So now this is sitting at the company, right? So this is all the company side, right? Now, it's sitting at the company side. Now, I ask you, ITEL, would you get the engineer to go to this massive junk pile and sort through it and take the metal?
Then again, no.
Again, no, right? Like, just because it's moved from the tip to the company site, you still wouldn't get the engineer to go to the, he wouldn't go there, right?
Exactly.
Doesn't make any sense. So, you wouldn't, so you might have a conveyor belt, right? So you might have, let's say, a conveyor belt that brings the scrap from wherever it is on site to him, right? So he doesn't have to go get it, it comes to him, right? Now, what is the problem with this scenario? Right? Engineer's here, scrap's coming in. He's watching the conveyor belt, it's coming towards him. What's the problem? Well, think about it this way, right?
Yeah, sure.
This is just junk coming through, right?
Okay.
So he is simultaneously trying to feed metals, raw metals into these machines, while what's he doing? He has to sort through the junk. So you know what's going to happen is once the volume starts coming through, he doesn't have time to simultaneously work the machines, sort the junk. Sort the junk, work the machines. He can't do both. So what happens? Junk falls off and forms a pile.
Another junk, another pile of junk.
Another pile of junk. Now the problem is there's good scrap metal in there, right? But because he couldn't sort it fast enough and do the machines, and plus he has to sort it into different machines, right? It's different metal, different machine. So what happens is you have a problem where there's good metal here that's getting ignored because all he can do is concentrate on the conveyor belt and the machines, right? He can't do much. And now imagine if he orders 5 tip trucks, suddenly comes in, this is just going to be going night and day, night and day, night and day. And the problem is once they start accumulating, you're running out of space. So you need to up the rate of these conveyor belts. So the problem gets exacerbated. So basically, what he's going to do, what is the engineer going to do with this conveyor belt?
But if and ever like...
if there's a huge volume, what's he going to do?
Well, I think if I were the engineer, I'm going to speed it up. Or...
But you've sped it up, right?
Okay.
But you're sorting it, right? So what are you going to do?
I
don't know. Well, he's going to pick only the prime. He's going to go, oh, there's a whole fridge here. Fantastic. I will take this fridge and put it in the
He would ignore actually the small pieces.
He will ignore anything that is not a massive fridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But there's so much good metal accumulating in it,
that's
right? Now, so what do? Do you have him go out here? Do you want to hire another engineer here to sort through?
Yeah, I would think so because I want someone specialized to do something else.
Really?
While I do,
you want to pay an engineer to sort.
No, not an engineer, definitely, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, not an engineer.
Exactly. Because if you had another engineer, you put him here.
Exactly.
You put him here. Because you're going to process more metal, right? So you don't get an engineer. What you get is a picker, right? A picker, and you've seen them, are the guys on that conveyor belt that go. Here's the. They sort the junk from the scrap metal, right? So they will toss out the junk, right? So now engineer is getting nice bits of metal here. They're just lazy because this rate is furious, right? But this rate is a lot more sedated. It's like he can watch it come and go, oh yeah, okay, that's a good piece. Put that in, sort it out, right? So now you just and this guy is paid significantly less than the engineer because he's not an engineer. He didn't do 5-6 years of study. He's actually just trained to pick. So you could even have multiple guys here because you could afford to have multiple guys here and they pick through, right? That makes sense?
Yeah.
Now the problem still is if you get 10 tip trucks, you call up 10 tip trucks. These guys, what happens when these guys, this rate of volume of junk coming in, it gets too high for them to handle?
So we already have a lot of guys doing, but there's still a lot of volume.
There's more volume than these 2 guys can handle. What do these guys start doing?
I think they just they just fasten the job and just pick whatever they want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they pick again.
No quality involved. Yeah.
Again, well, it's not that there's no quality involved, but they will actually just pick the prime pieces of metal. Just like the engineer did here, they'll pick the prime pieces of metal. But what does that mean? It means the metal starts to accumulate here, right? So again, you have these 2 piles, or you have this pile or that pile or both, that are accumulating good value, right? Now that's dollars, That is absolute dollars for that recycling company because this is dollars, so the raw material is dollars. You're essentially wasting money here, okay? All right, so what does that mean? What is all this in terms of sales, right? This is marketing. Tip truck is marketing. It's the volume. Right, now there are different sources of marketing. So this is marketing sources. Now, for example, the tip is just, for example, could be your website. Anyone can come to your website and do the contact form. There's so much junk in there, but there will be little prime bits of metal in there, right? And what is the metal for us? I mean, it's at different stages. this junk, right, is leads. Okay? It's leads. And leads are junk, by the way. They are junk. Until they're qualified, they are junk. So junk leads. So you basically, you hire marketing, you can get from different sources, right? So building site could be like a B2B event with marketing professionals. The leads come out of that will be very, it depends. You can use any analogy, but let's say recycling points are the highest level, right? Like it's low volume, but the best quality. So that could be, for example, an industry event. Low volume, but super high quality. Okay? Building sites could be for example, paid advertising, right? But you're targeting only people who search for certain phrase. So already, it's like you're going to get junk for sure, but you're also going to get high volume of good metal / leads, right? And the tip is just anything, right? That's anyone who calls, anyone who goes to your website. Impossible. It's impossible. Like that's like SEO. You up your SEO, you just up your volume of junk. You're not upping your volume of metal out here. It's just junk, all right? So that's what you get. There's different marketing sources. Marketing is the tip truck. So it comes in different forms, different volumes, different speed, all of that stuff, right? Then you've got leads. Now, leads get filtered by the picker. Who's the picker? Picker is inside sales. Now, the problem is, right, one of the problems we solve with our services is that when you have the engineer who's also the picker, who's also sorts through the junk, and who also goes to the tip, companies have this. Companies absolutely have this. They have salespeople who are expected to sort through incoming leads, to handle the raw leads accumulating. Sometimes they might have a marketing person which does the initial filtration, but I guarantee you the marketing person does not qualify. The marketing person just throws them on. He goes, throws them on the conveyor belt, right? So, and then you've got, sometimes they expect him to go in the market and go to the tip, and pick up his little, no, he doesn't know how to truck. All he has is a wheelbarrow. Just load some stuff on and he takes it back, right? That's one of the problems we fix, is that it's too expensive to have your sales team do this entire lead generation process, because this is a lead generation process, right? So you've got inside sales, then engineers, the sales staff. Your sales staff, their time is the most critical because they are working on the machines, and the machines need a qualified person to actually generate the metal at the end. So if you distract them from working on the machine, what does it do? It limits the throughput here. And that is your bottom line. So if you are wasting your engineer's time with this process, that's where the value is lost. Okay? So often we will deal with companies that have either not so here are the kind of problems we face, right? Number one, we can help them here. We can be the tip truck. We can bring in, we can generate the leads. But we don't generate junk. Because we pre-qualify, it's almost like taking this tip truck, we pre-filter it back at our company, and we bring the tip truck directly to the sales guy and go, here it is, all pre-filtered, it's all exactly to your specifications. So one of the things we do is, we filter, and then we bring it. So that's one of the services we do. That's lead generation. Okay. We will actually go out to the tip or the recycle points of the building sites. We'll put together a truck, we'll filter it, and we'll bring it straight to you. So we bypass this whole thing, right? The other thing we can do is, if you already have tip trucks coming in and doing all this, and you have a massive pile of junk, we can help you put guys in who can filter through it. So they'll sit on your lead queue, and they will actually filter it, so that only good stuff comes out.
Exactly.
So that's another process we do. And because the other thing we do is what's called, we can work on these, right? Like, say you've got guys here, you've got guys here, you've got this, it's all in place, but you're still accumulating a bunch of cold leads that need to be nurtured. So that is what we do. We can either do it in, bulk. We can say you have two huge piles, we'll work through them. we'll just power through them and sort out all the good stuff from the bad stuff. Or we can say, look, this is going to be constantly accumulating.
Yeah.
So let us do on a month-by-month basis what's called lead nurturing, which is essentially just sorting through this junk and finding the good notes. Yeah? And passing them back up here to the engineer. Right. So now let's talk about some of the statistics, right? So if this is a lead, and this is a qualified lead, so otherwise known as a marketing qualified lead. Okay. Now there's a certain ratio. So you might have 10 leads coming in, right? And there's only a certain amount that will be filtered. So it could be like 10 to 2, right? So what happens is, and why I'm going to go through these stats is to explain to you what is the value proposition. Okay. So there's a certain ratio of filtering. Now, the better your pickers are, the higher this will be, or the lower it could be. But it will be more accurate as opposed to letting crap through, which actually clogs up your sales line. Because it still takes time. If you let junk through here that's not qualified, that sucks up the salesperson's time. Every time they have to call an hour or half an hour on the phone, they've lost that. The picker should have already cleared that out. And that's actually your role as inside sales is very similar. You actually prevent this process. You prevent junk getting through the sales team, which means the whole thing is more efficient. So let's say, okay, so inside sales, MQL, these are sales. So that's the sales rep, and this is sales, right? So this is revenue, sales dollars. Okay. So let's say for every MQL that comes in, we'll convert a certain amount of sales. So let's say for every 10 MQLs that come in, we convert 4 sales, right? And they are worth a certain, what's called average sales price, ASP, average sales price. So let's say the average sales price is $20,000, okay? $20,000. Now we can work backwards, right? We can say, say my target is 100K. Okay, 100K. So how many sales do I need?
5.
You need 5. I need 5 sales. So how many MQLs do I need?
It's for every 4, there's 10.
Let's make it easier.
Sorry.
Let's say this is 5, right? So 10. So basically, you need 10, right?
10 also.
Okay. Now, if you look up here, if I need 10 MQLs, how many leads do I need?
50.
That's right, 50. I need 50. Right? So then, I need to do marketing that brings. Okay, so that's I need to do marketing that gives me at least 50 leads, right? So this marketing, this tip truck costs a certain amount of money, right? So that's your initial, marketing spend. So now, if my marketing spend was, let's say, a campaign at ITEL, costs you 10 grand. Okay? I spend 10 grand, I get 50 leads, 10 of those are qualified, 5 of those actually result in a sale, I make 100 grand. Okay? So what is my return on investment? Like my ROI is going to be what I actually made minus what it cost me, so 90K, over what it actually cost me, the initial investment. So return is 90K, investment is 10K. So it's basically, 900%, right? So that's my return on investment, ROI. Now that's important because you'll talk to a lot of people. You need to understand this. You need to understand all the figures. You need to understand what's the average sale price, what are the targets they're trying to hit. What is their conversion rate? Like what is their conversion from qualified lead to sales? Because then you can work backwards and say, okay, this is how many QRs I have. Now if you know yourself, for example, we know when we run a telemarketing campaign, that approximately it's you'll get leads. There'll be about 14% will be leads, right? Will be qualified leads. Okay, so that would be, 100 come in and 14 are qualified leads. So you can work backwards and say, okay, I need X amount of raw leads. Okay. Now, if I know that to talk to X amount of raw people, that maybe I need to talk to 5 times that to actually manage to talk on the phone to get one of those, right? Because you're not going to talk to everyone. If you just contact 50 people, you're not going to get the amount of calls. You're going to actually have to call like 500 to get 50 on the phone and actually listen to you, right? So you work back, and then you can figure out, okay, if it's a 500 contact campaign, then it's going to cost, say, $10,000. Then you can figure out what is this ROI, because this is important. People that are not getting enough ROI, or their average sale price is say less than 10K, they're never going to do telemarketing, for example. Okay. Now, however, if you're talking about, say, if you're selling search engine optimization, it's different because you're producing non-qualified leads, you're producing junk in higher volumes. So you're talking about a different thing. You're not talking about supplying them with MQLs. You're actually talking about, okay, I know how much raw leads I know roughly how many raw leads that I'm going to pump into you. I know your process, so I can kind of figure out how many sales you get at the end of that. You see what I mean? Yeah. So that's why it's important to understand this process. So anytime you want to sort of remember how it works, just think of the recycling example, because that captures all the problems we can solve. Okay, so ITEL, what can we do? We can get tip trucks, we can get you junk, we can pick it for you, we can go through the garbage that's accumulated on here, or we can do all of it. So that there's nothing but you just have your sales team here, and they are augmented by a marketing agency or a lead gen specialists, and that's what we do. Any questions about just that?
This is how we do business here in ITEL, right? But this is also, you can also apply this diagram or this...
no, this is not how we do business in ITEL.
Yeah, but...
It is how we do business in ITEL, but this is actually our customers.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, sorry, our customers. So think of this as our customer, right? And this is what we can do for them.
Actually,
But obviously, as a business, we do something similar to this internally in ourselves. And all businesses will have this. They will all have this at some. They could have a very primitive form of like the salesperson going to the tip.
Doing everything.
Doing everything, depending on the size. Or they could have something very sophisticated. They could have a very sophisticated system, but they just don't have the manpower. They have all the pieces in place, or they just don't have someone, going through the junk here. What would you call this guy? I don't know what you'd call this guy. Picker. He's still a picker, I guess. Right. So they might not have that part. You got to figure out what part they don't have. Do they not have here? Do they not have here? Maybe their average sale time is really high. So this is average sale price, right? The other thing you need to know is the average deal duration, or the average sale duration, right? Sorry, it's the average sales cycle, right? Okay, because that's important too. Now, if the average sales cycle is really high, let's say it takes 6 months for them to actually do it, well then you got to ask yourself, well, they're going to invest this, they're going to get this, but it's going to be in 6 months. So, you've got to qualify before they do. Before they figure it out, you have to have already gone, okay, well, this is a good deal or not a good deal, or we can help these people, or we might not be able to help these people, or maybe there's just something's broken. They've got everything working here, but the problem actually lies here. And one of the things you will ask is, what is your average sales cycle? How long does it take? And a lot of people may not even know this. They don't even know this figure.